Charge Blade is good. It has mobility, utility, and solid damage, despite having its numbers tweaked from Worldborn's iteration. There are no bad matchups when you master both playstyles, you just toggle between them to handle a given matchup. It is the best iteration of Super Spam, with Spinning Axe only being contested by Iceborne Savage Axe. This is my perspective as to how Charge Blade was improved in Sunbreak. Feel free to discuss your opinions down below, otherwise let's get into the state of Charge Blade. Charge Blade became an element weapon overnight once version 10 dropped. Every element type had a weapon with at least 50 base element by endgame. In previous games, at least one of the element weapons, most commonly ice, was shafted with a subpar weapon. It does not help that Title Update 5 augments bloated your element value with a bonus 53 element to break the 100 mark for all elements. Prior to Sunbreak, no weapon broke the 100 element mark with element boost, let alone at base power, resulting in absurd file damage for this installment. As for skills, you had to invest way more into element sets to get a full power element boost and still make enough room for essential skills. You now only require a maximum of 7 level 1 slots and 2 level 2 slots for the 5 element decos, 2 levels of blessing, 1 burst, and 1 element exploit. You can mix up the element decos into 2, 3, and 4 slots as necessary, making it easy to obtain full power element on every set post Title Update 3. Charge Blade is uniquely situated to invest everything into element for optimal damage thanks to the element files only scaling with your final element value. So progression through Sunbreak made getting element skills that were locked to armor the only priority for Super Spam, reserving slots for Element 5, Load Shells 2, Guard Up 3, and Guard 5. The changes made to Charge Blade moving from Rise to Sunbreak enabled Element File to dominate the meta. In base Rise, the multiplier for Element File was 8.5, then it was boosted to 11.25. The 8.5 multiplier let you outdamage Impact File against monsters at the 30 element hit zone, but the boost to 11.25 lowered that threshold down to 20. It was a change that enabled maybe 5 monsters on the entire roster to be blasted with element for optimal damage, to being able to target everything but 5 monsters on the roster. Impact File remained the same in motion value, stagnating in damage, while element files soared to new heights. Also, the files gaining height made 5 files supers consistent. Morphing events fixed Charge Blade's long-standing positioning weakness. Element requires a monster with good hit zones and consistent access to those hit zones. It is why Dual Blades, one of the most mobile weapons in the game, is always used with element weapons. Morphing events cures Charge Blade of its otherwise sluggish movement by ziplining 2 good hit zones and comboing straight into an SAED or double chop. The ability to stay on the monster at all times is a passive damage boost that Charge Blade sorely needed. Impact File does not benefit from morphing events as much because the file damage ignores hit zones, so the only damage that does get increased is your chopping damage. Also, Charge Blade only has 1 Wirebug Silkbind attacks, so there is never really a trade-off between using morphing events over something else. If you manage your Wirebugs, you will always have a Wirebug ready when you need it, with 1 to spare. While Counter More Slash, Ready Stance, Counter Peek, and Firing Pin supplemented the foundation of Charge Blade and mitigated its weaknesses, they did not eliminate a core weakness like Charge Blade's positioning. Super Spam is stronger than Spinning Axe until it's not. Super Spam's weakness is that you have a lot of windup before you can unleash your damage. It requires you to load files, position to a favorable hit zone, and unload your files, then reset. You can load up your files and unload them against any easy monster, but positioning against mobile and thin monsters requires you to make galaxy brain predictions, resulting in you landing all of your files while the monster is moving or turning. Anytime you aren't hitting the monster is time lost, since you have to wait for the right moment for an SAED or be punished for firing early or late. That is where Spinning Axe comes in. It is ideal for dealing against mobile monsters that have quick attacks. Ready Stance lets you box against every option in the game, provided you have max guard up and some guard investment. While Super Spam's focus is to output many chunks of burst damage, Spinning Axe is all about consistent and targeted damage. You should never leave the monster untouched for more than 5 seconds, since you can zipline to its face. When it comes to raw builds, Spinning Axe outpaces Super Spam. They both inflict 1k damage per strongest move. You can use more double chops than SAEDs in a given time frame. The only reason Super Spam is stronger for Element File is because it outputs 3 to 5 times the damage of a single Element File Spinning Axe chop. Even then, you have to fire 2 SAEDs before the Spinning Axe user can fire 3 double chops just to stay ahead. However, I believe it's correct to learn and master both playstyles because that provides you with more options. Spinning Axe suffers against the literal hard monsters in Barroth, Bizarrios, the Rachnas, and any other monster that denies the 45 cutting hit zone, while Super Spam suffers against the Valstraxes, Gyrototus, the Greats, the Canths, the Magnamolos, and the Rajangs. Basically, the monsters with bad hit zones, noodle-like bodies, or a need for speed. The playstyles share no overlapping weaknesses, so you'll learn both to cover everything. While not important to the meta, weapon designs are fire in this installment. Whoever designed Malzeno Chargeblade, Antique Chargeblade, and Lost Code Chargeblade deserves a raise. The layering system made it easy to identify which build I was running because I assigned fire Chargeblades to fire, water to water, and so on. We should never go back to a game without layers in the base game, and I will die on this fashionable hill. Also, Almudron Helm has to be included in every game moving forward. Moving forward from Sunbreak, these are the changes I expect to keep and lose. Vake and Valstrax are recurring Chargeblades, so they will return at some point to dominate the Super Spam meta again. The hybrid Chargeblades have recurring weapons like Rathlos, Kushala, and Mitsutune, so there's no real power losses here. Rachna Kadaki Chargeblade is in a similar scenario, but things are looking bleak for Narwa and Auroracanth Chargeblades. Not every Elder Dragon or subspecies makes a second appearance unless fans want it. Sad to say that Narwa and Auroracanth aren't too popular, so their return is slim. It sucks because these are the best Thunder and Ice Chargeblades ever made, so this is the peak of these two element types until we get a better weapon. And Flaming Espinas has a good chance to return due to its popularity, letting us abuse status and element builds once he pops up again. Generic skills like Intrepid Heart, Bloodlust, and Burst will likely remain so long as their corresponding monsters return in future games, while any skills from a Risen monster will likely be left behind in Chimera and Elgato. Powder Mantle with Wind Mantle and Wirebug Whisperer was a really good combo for Chargeblade Spinning Axe builds. We have no guarantee whether or not they will return in the same manner. Capcom has shown that they have the power to change skills like Chain Crit, so this might be the first and last time we'll see these skills as they are in Sunbreak. Dragon Conversion made elemental resistances matter. It made harder resistances and Furious meta. It is definitely a gimmick that is not likely to return, but Capcom made a creatively powerful skill using existing resources. I hope more skill combos like Dragon Conversion, Furious, and Hard Resistances are created to bring otherwise non-meta skills into the meta fold. The most fun part of building sets is taking a crazy set of skills and finding ways to make them work together and consistently throughout the hunt. Pairing the Mantles and Intrepid Heart together with Chain Crit and Spinning Axe was common sense in retrospect because Spinning Axe fulfilled the sole condition of hitting multiple times in a short time span. They need to continue this trend of skills that synergize together. Air Dash and Axe Hopper are not fundamental to Chargeblade. You can ignore them as moves and still use full power Chargeblade. They are stylish for sure, but they are nothing to lose sleep over. Counter Morph Slash, Counter Peak, Performance, and Ready Stance are all moves that are really good, but serve as supplements to core gameplay. You can alter your timings for base Morph Slash, Counter Peak is just instant load shells, and Ready Stance will most likely be reverted to the old Savage Axe guard point moving forward. Losing them will hurt, but they shouldn't turn anyone off from Chargeblade. Also, Firing Pin should just be fused into Condensed Element Slash. Losing Morphing Advance is gonna hurt. Chargeblade has always struggled with positioning. World gave it the Fade Slash, but you could only line up your supers better, not move to an entirely different hit zone and pick any angle you want. This Silkbind attack opens up any matchup, letting you zip and zop around, away from, or onto the monster at the speed of a Wirebug. Losing this key tool makes element file and double chopping notably worse since you cannot position the way you want anymore, meaning less damage and more time spent chasing down the monster's noggin or whatever good hit zone you're targeting. We need a Morphing Advance replacement free of the wire bug so that future iterations can enjoy similar mobility to Sunbreak. Like if this video was useful to you, consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Comment down below anything I missed or anything you want to talk about. That's all I got for this one. Greedy Knight, signing out.